Hello everyone. Before we get started on this week's episode, just a quick word that YouTube in all its infinite wisdom has decided that some of the Die Party games are now not suitable for advertising. It doesn't mean a whole lot for the content. I'm not going to censor the videos in any way, but if you'd like to lend your support so that Die Party can continue to grow, please check out the Patreon or subscribe on the Twitch channel. Enjoy the episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Die Party LA at Night, a weekly Vampire the Masquerade role-playing game. I apologize, I completely fucked up the time. I woke up at the normal role-playing time instead of the new one, which is 2 hours earlier, so we're probably only going to get a short episode out today, and I'm also missing the opportunity for Brian to actually have internet and power, so that's on me. I apologize. But let's go around and introduce whom we have hurricane-free and undead, I guess, this week. Mr. Tuesday Gray, what up? How you doing? Welcome back.
Thank you. I am undead, and I play an undead character whose name is Lavin, and she's a former club kid, and she actually has a club of her own now that at some point we'll go refocus on and watch it change ownership basically and change identities. Tonight I'll let Wreckage say what we're going to do. There was mention of an alternative thing since we don't have Spooty, who is actually in a little bit of the storm path, so he lost power. But maybe if he gains it, we'll see him back. But thanks for joining.
If he comes back with superpowers, that's going to be interesting.
Super storm.
Oh, if this hurricane ends up giving people superpowers, that's going to be a real problem, considering it mostly hit Florida.
Florida man.
Bam.
With
Jesus
superpowers. That's not good.
Up next we have Mr. Tuxedomus. What up?
Hey everybody, I'm Tux. I'm here. I'm ready for some role playing. Hope you all are good. And yeah, let's see what we have in store for tonight.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, we have our storyteller, Mr. Dr. Wreckage. What up?
Very succinct, very good, because we are going to be tight on time since several of us planned to be done in 2 hours. Maybe we'll play it by ear. I had a thing prepared in case Sputnik couldn't make it because of the hurricane anyway. So we're going to do that thing instead of like LA at Night proper. But also because of the time crunch, we're sort of going to play it loose. We're probably not going to do much rolling. I'm going to mostly just call what happens to save us time, especially because what we're about to do is going to be a little complicated. So let's get right into it. Just as a preamble, last week, you guys made it away from the Sin Eaters, having never learned that they are Sin Eaters. You reported back to the a couple of barons who could show up last minute at a meeting. And the general consensus was, this is, an unknown that we don't want to risk our lives on. Except for Amethyst, who was very pissed. And Maria did she tried very wholeheartedly to make sure Amethyst wasn't going off to go fight the Sin Eaters alone. And then Amethyst went off and fought the Sin Eaters alone. That was the final shot of the night. So, everybody roll me a 1d10.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Is this how many vampires we kill? Because we're playing hunters.
Tux,
Yeah.
you go first because you
Okay.
won the 1d10.
Okay.
Roll me a 1d7.
Okay. Hey.
7. Okay. Bigger numbers aren't better here. Just, they're just different numbers.
You don't know that?
I do know
Yeah,
that.
You don't know me.
What are we playing again?
Now, please roll me 1d10 twice.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, 2 and 1. No, that's fine. All right.
Let's see what happens to little old me.
Yep.
Now I need Dave, who came in second, to roll a 7, a 1d7. 3. And now I need you to roll 1d10 twice.
$18.
10 and 8. It's not the total that matters here.
It's the girth, I understand.
And, oh, that's a shame. Well, no, that would have made it weird if that was true. Okay, and finally, Tuesday, I need you to roll a 1d7. 6. Ooh, spicy. And I need you to roll d10 twice. 3 and 6. So... 1, 2. Ooh! Oh! Ooh! Oh! Ah! Ooh! Okay. I need you to re-roll the 3.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! All right. Yoink. Boop.
Let's just save ourselves some headache there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 and 7.
3 was bad, guys. 3 was bad.
This is when a GM does these secret table things, they're just like, haha, this is the best. But really, they just like, I just made them roll random things, and I just have this.
No. This is. It'll actually be very, very clear what's happening here. So, now I need each of you to name a character, like a new character. Give them a name.
Okay.
Huh?
Out of curiosity, how important is this name?
It's a real person that you're gonna play for the next 3 hours, and might come up again later on in LA at night.
Okay. Can I might. Okay.
You can generate it if you need to. If you need to generate it.
All right. I'll just go with. His name is William, but everyone calls him Bill.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. I'm just gonna paste mine. Bam. Kel.
Kel Lockley.
Finn McKinley.
Finn McKinley. Okay. If you want to earn extra credit points, change your name and roll 20.
Huh.
So, Bill, Kel, and Finn. You are 3 Sin Eaters who weren't there that night.
Okay.
Oh man.
Tux, you have the power of Grave Dirt and Cold Wind Shroud.
Okay.
Dave, you have Stillness and Primeval Curse.
What? What? Okay.
Yep. And Tuesday, you have Passion and Phantasmal Rage. You had to reroll the 3 because 3 for Rage is the one that magically lights people on fire.
Yeah. So, Rage is like the attacking one. So good job.
Oh.
And
Sweet.
Passion is attacking people's emotions, and Phantasmal is ghost stuff, if I remember correctly, right?
In the Zoom call, there's a link to our old Die Party Sin Eaters Google website.
Ooh.
which has the powers on it. This page is the powers
The site you're about
subpage.
to view may only may contain adult content only suitable for adults.
Oh my god, I forgot about the dick book.
Ooh. Ooh.
Right. So,
Spicy.
reference your powers. In case it's not obvious, you rolled 1d7 to see which power you had, and then 2d10s to see which 2 keys you had. Which is, in general, how the actual game worked, too.
Where are
Without
the powers on this thing? I forgot.
I wonder if
it brought you right to the
function
manifestation page. Then you click the sub-pages for the individual manifestation. So...
Oh,
Is
manifestation.
my power Grave Dirt Boneyard?
Yours
you
is
have
Grave Dirt.
Shroud.
Yeah, the shroud, yeah.
So first page is Boneyard, then the Call, then the Curse, then the Marionette, then the Oracle, then the Rage, then the
I
Shroud.
have...
So mine is the Rage, and I have Passion and...
Phantasmal.
Oh,
Gotcha.
which Grave Dirt is it?
It's the Cold Wind and...
So are you on the Shroud subpage?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the Cold Wind Shroud and the Grave Dirt Shroud.
Oh. Okay.
Grave Dirt's great, man.
Yeah, great. Do you know the guy who turned to stone in the fight?
Sure.
You have the same power as him.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you also have the Cold Wind one, which is also cool.
Make wind around you and shit. It's cool.
The specifics of these powers, they're going to come up. So, have them ready. But we're going to come right up on the thing now that we've named our characters. We're all ready. Bill, Kel, and Finn. Last night, completely unexpectedly, some vampires invaded your territory.
Those assholes.
You don't know the specifics, except for 6 of you lost a life.
Well, might as well complete the set.
Packed everyone?
One of whom could ill afford to lose a life and may not wake up again. For the benefit of Tux and Tuesday, who haven't played Sin Eaters before, Sin Eaters have X number of lives.
Mm-hmm.
And when they die, they are shrouded in ectoplasm, basically. And the ectoplasm heals their body and they wake up hours or days later.
Okay.
If you run out of lives, you may not wake up. You may actually achieve real death. You also will die naturally of old age, which is shitty. So can't just play it safe and play to the end of the game,
Also,
so to speak.
isn't like it? There's no like tangible number on it, but like it's mostly when you die too many times, you lose.
You start to desync with your Geist.
You do sync with your Geist, yeah.
Speaking of Geists, the 3 of you, not to get into too much detail, each have a ghost that follows you around like a shadow.
I know what mine is already.
Tell us.
So my power is the power of hexing people. So I want to go with an old cauldron witch.
All right, so Bill is always followed around by like a almost stereotypical witch who stirs a cauldron and that sort of thing. So because we're short on time, I'm not going to put you guys on the spot to tell me what your Geists look like. If in the course of the night you have your inspiration and want to tell me what your ghost looks like, Tux?
Mine is a silent movie actor who is animated as if they were in a silent movie. And whenever they talk, a small box appears behind them and says what they are saying.
That's so good! That's so good for a Sin Eater Geist! You didn't even know you were going to do this! That's perfect.
So that's
Right.
That's what you. Maybe I didn't post that correctly. Let me just see if I can.
You super didn't.
Okay.
Are you going to post the big art?
Yep. So if you want to get a basic idea of what a Geist will sort of look like, take a look at that picture here. This is from the Sin Eater crew that we had, and what their Geist sort of look like, leaning over their shoulders and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah, so you had an excellent one without even knowing what they were. I'm very proud. Tuesday, as you were, just take your time if you have an shot of inspiration during the night.
How about just the floating head of David Bowie?
Yeah, I mean that means
That's
you
what I
would have
really want.
that means you would have had to die like after David Bowie passed away.
Well,
Like,
Geists,
it just looks
how
like
Geists work are a little squiffy, but I would probably say no to that if this was Sin Eater's character creation and we were
Right.
seriously doing Sin Eaters. But in this, it's the severed floating head of David Bowie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say instead of like blood dripping out of his neck hole, it's like 80s star matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like just like so yeah.
And all he
All right.
says is lines from his songs. Like he can't actually talk properly.
Right. It's just in
Of course.
Last night, apparently a whole cadre of vampires invaded your territory, and that's a very big deal because you are a crew of Sin Eaters. You're actually a conspiracy of Sin Eaters because there's more than 20 of you, and
Oof.
your conspiracy of Sin Eaters has lived in Inglewood since Native American times.
Ugh.
This graveyard is a sacred burial site.
No.
It goes beyond culture and like individuals who are buried. What's really important is this incredibly sacred cenote that's underneath the burial site that the vampires literally ran through with their muddy, shitty, evil vampire crap and got blood in it and all sorts of shit. The only job of your conspiracy of Sin Eaters is to protect this sacred land. In exchange, you get incredible Sin Eater powers. And your conspiracy has been going for, like I said, generations. It has always acclimated as things change because the only thing that's important is to keep mortals and other supernaturals out of this sacred space. And last night, somehow, there was a catastrophic failure of that duty.
Oh, we fucked them up hard then.
Maybe they should put up a sign.
Oh my God.
There was no sign.
There was no sign.
Pretty sure there was a golden retriever in here as well that managed to walk through what we were protecting. Maybe
You
he
don't-
even peed in there.
In the water.
Pond.
There is an old, you've seen it as the other characters, facility designed to guard this sacred cenote. And it's been modernized over time. Every once in a while, a group of Sin Eaters gets a kick and decides to build it up. But it's never had housing for the full group. So people sort of take turns living here as a rotation, to staff it. And when there is an incursion by a supernatural, or say maybe, the city hall or something is like, we're going to tear down Inglewood Cemetery and Park or something, like, then there's a call to arms. Like, now is the time to actually do work in defending this place. And you've all received the summons, which no cell phones yet, but you can get literal ghost ravens delivering you ghost messages that say the details of what happened and come in tonight. Like, we have had this serious breach.
Hold up, my ghost page is going off.
So preamble me a little bit. I mean, you don't have to go too deep into your own brief one-shot characters, but like, what were you doing with your, like, because Sin Eaters, importantly, still live the lives of mortals.
Mm-hmm.
They still have a job. usually they still have some means of paying for themselves because they still need to eat and clothe and do all the normal things that vampires don't have to do anymore, or that like werewolves don't have to do anymore. So sin eaters are the one supernatural that maintains the facade of a normal life. So tell me about what you were off doing that you've been recalled from. Were you just taking a brief stay at your apartment, or do you have this thing that you are into?
Basically, I work for the RSPCA, and this is a very recent job for Bill. What he does though is he takes it upon himself to vigilante hunt down the people that abused animals that he rescues
with his ghost powers. After he finds out about him, he's like, "You motherfucker."
Yep. So
you're like Daredevil, but for puppies.
So, it depends on what they did. Like if they abandon the dog or whatever, then he'll give them a
minor curse.
Eternally, like a fucking, like, people will just no longer recognize him or pay attention to him. Like the stillness hex is fucking disgusting, can I just say? Like, literally, you hex someone and they, depending on how long you fucking torment them for, but like, they basically just become completely uninteresting to everyone else in the entire world. Like, no one pays attention to them, no one notices them anymore. Like, they could walk through an entire crowd and people could bump into them and they wouldn't notice them. Like, that, they would just become, like, they just fall out of the world, basically. And
the ultimate level of the stillness curse is they lose the ability to communicate in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
Like,
you shadow ban them?
Yeah.
You shadow ban them from reality. They can't speak, they can't write or draw, they can't do like Morse code. They lose the ability to communicate.
And if the animal was abused, I generally, like, they generally made a grisly end by, pests and birds and stuff like that. Like, generally I'll summon a legion of rats on them to chew on their feet at night and that sort of stuff, and give their life fucking hell through the course of animal abuse on them. So like I'm a very vindictive, vengeful motherfucker, I guess. So
you have the curse power.
Yeah.
It writes itself. So yeah, you coming in from working at the CPA,
RSPCA,
like RSPCA. It's a long
or whatever they call it in America. So
it is the exact same.
The
thing.
ASPCA, right?
Okay.
Oh, is it?
The ASPCA?
I've always heard it with an R. So maybe I'm just hearing about the European one. It doesn't matter. He's just finished working for the Society for the Protection of the Cruelty of the Animal. No, the Society of Protecting Animals from Cruelty, not protecting the ability to perform cruelty on animals.
Oh my god.
All right,
so it stands for
figured out the
Royal
riddle.
Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
Right. So there is an ASPCA. Got it.
The American one.
So you're coming in from that. Basically, you know exactly what the deal is. Show up tonight at the mausoleum. Like, there's going to be a huge meeting, probably a seance. And this is the plan going forward. This is our response. Like, this is what there may be like a purifying ceremony. There may be a very extensive purifying ceremony, like something that takes months or years. But like, it's time to get to work, boots on the ground. This is why you have your power, is to protect this.
God, my curse powers are the literal worst against vampires. I guess I could stillness curse them forever, maybe, and their undeath are just completely ignored by everyone.
I mean, stillness curse coupled with being immortal is pretty fucked up. Like,
yeah, I guess that is, yeah. I wouldn't even live long enough to see how effective that curse is.
But also, Primeval Curse can summon animals to fight them, so it's not that bad. Yeah. Like, it'll be a thing.
How many sin eaters do you think we would realistically?
Okay.
Fox. It's like, yeah.
Tell me about Finn. What was he off doing?
Finn is a jazz singer.
Nice.
Off doing jazz singing in various jazz singing clubs around LA.
All right. Yeah.
And has received the call and now must miss a show.
Tux, this is relevant.
Okay.
As a performer in nightclubs in LA and as a sin eater, you see vampires come in all the time and you can see them immediately because in a crowd of people that are alive, somebody walks in that you know is a corpse.
Yep.
So that's a power of sin eaters. So vampires come in all the time. In fact, you've worked in clubs that you're quite certain are owned by vampires.
Probably a majority of them would be owned by vampires, right? So,
well, you know, it's Anarch territory, so not everything is owned by vampires. Some things are. Mostly they just come in and have a good time, and because you're paying attention to them, you see them feed. So you know that they are at least somewhat like Hollywood vampires. That is to say, they drink blood. So you know a little bit about them. But now it's time to come into the mausoleum because, hey, those vampire things, apparently a whole cadre broke in to Inglewood.
It's the technical term.
Yeah. At least if you guys think is the technical term of a group of vampires.
I love the idea of a bunch of us just standing around pretending we know everything and just using the wrong words and just saying completely wrong things.
That may be the bit that I'm going for tonight. Thank you.
As far as I know, they can only feed out of necks. So as long as you cover your neck, you're fine.
Kel.
So Kel is just somewhere shy of 30 and is pursuing her master's in psychology. So she's fresh out of an exam. And this ties in a little bit with her passion skill. So she's kind of just uses...
Passion is to force people into things. So I really love the idea that you're like a... And how does that make you feel?
Dig into their memories.
Angry. You just like
use that.
angry. Of course, it makes you feel angry.
You just make all of your patients feel the desire to get better.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, you know, when I came, I wasn't so like my wife made me come, but I really want to quit smoking now. It's like,
I want to do this.
Yeah, it's like I just don't even know why. It's like you're so good, doctor. But then the second he leaves, he's like, I don't actually really want to quit. I guess I have to talk to her again. I have to schedule another appointment.
I better go back there and pay her another $100.
Yeah, great. If only they knew that there was a severed, screaming David Bowie head sprinkling stardust in the background the whole time in the meeting, they'd probably not be as
keen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you guys very conveniently to the plot and expedience all show up at the mausoleum at the same time. You are aware of each other, but it is a 20+ Sin Eater conspiracy. So, like, in the same way that everybody who works on the same floor of an office building is aware of each other, like, you're not necessarily, like, really tight buddies. Like, you still know each other, and you know what you do, and you know your powers. In the same way that you know that Bob from accounting, you know, handles the, the Siebel and Gross fund or whatever. Like, you know what they do, but maybe you are friends. You know, that's up to you guys. You walk into the mausoleum, same as always. You go up to the secret door. You open the secret door. You head downstairs. You recognize, because it's clear as day, that several wards have been put into place, which, for the sake of, expedience, they're like magical landmines. They are complicated and don't last very long. So this is definitely like a temporary measure. They're not always in place. This is in case there's like another immediate invasion. The first notable thing is that as you come into the sort of rec room, there's just blood everywhere. Riley, who is sort of the sheepish, scaredy cat who happens to also be able to disappear, has sort of like a 1950s gown, rubber gloves, sponge, and bucket, and he's like sitting there scrubbing on a spot of blood that it's not coming out. Like he's got a couple of cleaners around, like a vinegar or something and like a bleach, and it's not coming out. Several of the walls are just stone, and blood on stone is, it's porous. It gets in there.
Hey, try baking soda.
Oh yeah, sure thing. Bill, thanks a lot.
Yeah, no worries. Man, they really did a number on this fucking place, didn't they?
The couch is destroyed. Television's destroyed. The barbells for the little weight set that somebody has out are like 90 degrees. Like there's fist holes in the walls, claw marks on the walls.
Go fucking Damien, god damn.
Yeah, the fight progressed quite chaotically after we left the scene.
It went up an entire flight of stairs. Like,
well, a ramp, but yes. So the meeting is in the seance chamber, which is one level down. So you go downstairs, you find the big stone slab has been destroyed. You know that the vampires, because you got a message that sort of outlined what occurred, you know that the vampires broke down the iron door to sort of begin the fight. But the iron door is intact and in place when you get down there. This is not the seance chamber, however. The seance chamber is a chamber off of this room that can only be opened with sinister magic, essentially. So you go up to a wall that has a conspicuous dagger gouge in it with blood, and you do the proper, rite. And the stone of the wall, let's not mince words here. It does exactly what Diagon Alley does in Harry Potter. Like just disassembles itself and opens up into this seance chamber. The seance chamber is a high ceiling cave with stalactites and a lot of Native American carvings, like very richly and detailed. There's not a surface in here that doesn't have some sort of you hesitate to say hieroglyphs because I think that's technically only Egyptian, but it has all these glyphs, and pictures of animals and etc. In the center of this room is a ring of candles. Around that ring of candles are seated 15 Siniers who and one level back towards the outside, away from the candles, are the 6 bodies of your friends who are still recuperating. And as is tradition for this conspiracy of sin eaters, they are fully wrapped, and prepared as sort of Indo Native American peoples would do. like up on a raised platform, and
Days?
like I don't know exactly what I've seen it like a gazillion times, but it wasn't exactly mummification because it wasn't like mummification. It was just, but you would wrap like a giant like you'd make a big cylinder out of wrappings basically, and then you'd also put them up on a sort of a straw bed. Anyway, so that's what they're doing. Those of you who know what I'm saying, put that picture into your mind. Those of you who don't, who gives a fuck? You get the picture. The head of your conspiracy currently is Amanda, and she is a blonde commando. She's ex-United States military. She quit the military because in World of Darkness and in the 80s when she served, there was insufficient combat roles for women. So she's a real hard ass who quit the military because she wasn't getting enough action. She got mixed up in some stuff because of her, lust for combat. She died. She came back as a sin eater. She joined the conspiracy, and she was proven to be a competent leader and shot through the ranks.
Does she have boneyard?
No.
Really? Yet she does steak stuff. Oh, okay.
She's a ceremoniist.
Really?
She makes her specialty is knowing. Like she really hit the books, so to speak, when she became a sin eater. Every sin eater has manifestations. She technically has some marionette and oracle, but she focuses entirely on sin eater ceremonies. Which
marionette would actually be the right one. But, yeah.
She doesn't use marionette for the stakes.
Okay.
The stakes are 100% just a ceremony. So everybody's seated around these candles that are set up in a ring. Amanda beckons for you guys to join the circle and have a seat.
I just follow orders.
I now call this seance to order. Everyone who was missing or unaware is now here. You've all received a detailed explanation of the events of last night. But before we get into the hard business, I have a call for questions.
Yeah, what the fuck happened here?
She sort of rolls her eyes. Bill, did you not read the messenger?
I did. I just don't believe you were able to let a cadre in here to walk around.
A whole cadre? It's crazy.
There were... well, if we assume that the one we captured was a member of the group, then the group totals in 5. We don't know the size groups that vampires travel in. Finn, you've said you've seen them come into your establishment on more than one occasion, but in nowhere near as large numbers as 5. They tend to be solitary, at least in their entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Can't we assume they'll come back here?
We're not sure. What we do know is that the 2 that we ultimately captured at the end of the fight somehow got away before sunrise.
So is there a possibility that they know about this chamber?
They don't know about the seance chamber, but they did violate the sacred Senno. And more importantly, these are the first supernaturals other than sin eaters to ever learn of this place and make it out alive. This is a huge breach of our pact. That said, we're waiting on a report to see how severe the situation is. One of the vampires was tagged during the fight, and we've had a spectral spy following them around for the evening. We'll soon know what exactly happened in the last 24 hours.
I crack my knuckles, just like, oh, I'm getting excited.
Phone call, 1 sec. Talk amongst yourselves. Make television.
Wow. Okay. You guys clearly don't know how to play Cities. It's alright.
We're good at this. We're so good at this.
So, when was the last time you guys ate?
2 hours ago.
I don't mean food. I mean, when was the last time you had some plasm?
I'm having plasm right now.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Where do sin eaters get their plasm?
So, sin eaters eat ghosts, or they go
Holy
to
shit.
a haunted house equivalent, and
Yeah.
they basically take it from the walls.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
So, there probably is a place here inside of the hideout that does it, because most sin eater hideouts are actually in haunted places.
Okay.
But some sin eaters go out of their ways to, find ghosts to consume. And in a lot of cases, you can either help ghosts pass on, like some sort of fucking supernatural helper, or you can just eat them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So, I assume nothing of interest happened while I was gone.
We're just
course
talking
not.
about eating plasm. So.
Right. Yeah, you eat ghost stuff to recharge your recharge.
So it's
And
basically just
Xenos-
like blood for vampires. It's basically your equivalent, or like your mana pool, whatever. So.
And cenotes are places where the barrier between the underworld and the living world are very thin, and plasm just spills out.
Nice.
So,
Do we have
this
any
pla-
high-level oracles in this group?
Yeah. Why?
Just wondering.
Okay. She mentioned that there's a spectral spy on one of the vampires, and that you're going to get an update. And there's a couple more questions. Somebody's like, well, what is this going to mean for us into the future? And she's like, well, we have to deal with the immediate fallout before we deal with the long-term ramifications on our pact, before we deal with cleansing the place and making things right. We have to make sure there isn't going to be another violation. And somebody else is like, somebody specifically inquires about one of the people who hasn't woken up again. Is like, how bad is it? And she's like, one of the vampires did something that we've not seen before. He seemed to lose control. He went from target to target without really focusing, without really any direction. But before he threw himself into us, he just ate this guy for like 30 seconds and tore him apart. It wasn't even seemingly about blood. His organs went everywhere.
Well,
And that's serious damage.
What if it's like one of those animal ones that we saw earlier?
It doesn't look that way. He was very cognizant at first. Then as the fight dragged on, he was doing tactical things. He seemed to be the one to control the shadow powers that we saw
Wait, shadow powers? The fuck?
Maybe it drank some blood of something that had rabies.
I mean, have we ever seen a vampire drink our own, like a Sinida blood, like plasma-infused blood? Like, maybe that's what made him go crazy.
That's a possibility. The timeline adds up. He fed. Well, he either went crazy and started feeding, or he fed and then went crazy. So that's a possibility, Bill. It's certainly, we don't have any reports from anyone in the conspiracy previous being fed upon by a vampire. We've always gotten the drop on them before they.
I don't know. Maybe our blood poisons them.
That's an interesting thought. But if that's poison, I hate to think of what good blood does to them, because in the ensuing chaos, he took out the remaining 5.
Or maybe shit. Maybe we should be actually more careful, because if they eat us and they get stronger, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
It might be that they lose control and get stronger. That seems to be what we experienced.
It's like steroids.
Which is a blessing and a curse. You can use someone's lack of control against them. We just weren't expecting it. In the future, we'll be prepared for that sort of reaction and exploit it.
We also got to be careful in case it might give them like a high or something, because they might hunt us based only on that. They're pretty gross, so I wouldn't be surprised.
We'll get some answers shortly when our spy returns. Undoubtedly, he'll overhear some interesting conversations. And on that cue, the candle light turns green and dies down a little bit before flaring up. And in the ring of candles is a ghostman.
Mr. Ghostman.
It's me, Ghostman.
He is a former police officer, and you can tell because he wears his badge around his neck still.
Wait. Was Damien wearing his badge around his neck when he came in there? I think maybe he might have. Oops.
Also, for those of you who've played, what is it, Soul Suspect or whatever, he's got like literal glowing bullet holes where he was shot and killed.
Oh, I remember that game. That was completely average.
It was super average, but the character was really cool. And like the ghost stuff,
he was a
the
modern
narrative.
detective who wore a fedora. How is that guy cool?
No, I mean, like, the design was cool. Like, he was just a fucking, like, I'm too grizzled and old and I've got a tragedy in my past. But, like, the ghost stuff and also how ghosts looked in that game, that was all really cool.
Yeah, I'll give you that much. Yeah.
So, anyway, this guy has, like, the couple of bullet holes. And to really point it out, he's got, like, 3 bullet holes in the back of his head. Like, somebody fucking executed this cop. So he's like... All right, boss, I'm back. And Amanda sort of sits up from, sitting around the circle to stand up to him. And he's like, all right, so what did you see? Like, give us the whole story. Well, first things first, she... Okay, so you tell me, follow this chick. She's a vampire. See what they do. Day comes, and apparently they don't live nearby. They had to ask her uncle for help.
Oh, shit.
So they stay at the restaurant the whole day in the basement. They had this whole thing where apparently the uncle didn't know they're vampires. So vampires aren't hereditary, he says.
Everyone's like, oh my god, they're not hereditary.
What?
No, there is whispering like, okay, they're not born, like they aren't born vampires. It's sort of like it sort of goes through and say, oh, that's just they like, there's
Did you see any vampire eggs?
There was some speculation that maybe it's like a familial thing, right? Like you get inducted into the vampire family once you're 20 or something. You get turned
versions of the stonecutters. And just you get like a signet ring and everything.
Yeah, no, that's what people were thinking. So it's like he's like, so they're not. That's not how that works. Her actual blood relative didn't know she was a vampire. And also there was a conversation that suggested that she hasn't been a vampire very long. He was like, where have you been the last 3 weeks? You used to be doing this whole thing and having a life. And now she wasn't. Okay, so like there's some murmuring, and that's like some really interesting information. She's
Are
like,
you telling me they get born really strong? Shit!
Amanda puts up a hand to be like, to silence the side
Quiet,
chat.
Brett. We all think
like,
what you're saying, okay?
Okay. More importantly, what happened like this evening? What you're here earlier than we expected, so you must have learned something. He's like, so they sleep all day. Great gig, by the way, watching a bunch of corpses in a room bleed. They wake up. They don't even hang around long enough to lick their wounds before they head back into central LA. They meet in this fucking warehouse, and it's all like, look how edgy and secret we are. Whatever, those fuckers. And there's like this fucking Braveheart-looking motherfucker, and these two other, like, they're wearing leather and a fucking gimp suit, and then this, like, sexy Hispanic guy shows up, and he's all like, El Drinte or something. I don't fucking know. And then all the people from the fight come in, and one of them, who, like, this crazy guy, he tells the whole story exactly as it happened, as if he was watching but not participating. And there's some murmurs. It's like, and like specifically, someone's like, "Do they have like oracle powers? Can they see things?" So the
man, that flute in this graveyard's going nuts.
Yeah, that fucking flute. It's like, hey,
flute guy,
hey,
stop it,
stop it! And it's like, and we all turn over to see like a ghost with a flute. It's like,
yeah, this is like some fucking a guy just sit there goes. Every couple of seconds. God, that would be the worst fucking Geist, can I just say? That would literally be the worst Geist. Oh my god.
So
what the fuck is wrong with me? Why didn't I make my Geist a chicken? Then I could have had a poultry Geist.
Damn.
I mean, the worst thing isn't even the pun. The worst thing is that you didn't actually get to make it.
I know! What the fuck is wrong with me?
This is serious.
God.
By the way, having seen the first 5 minutes of that movie and then hating my life for a couple months afterwards, I gotta say, don't do it.
Yeah.
Bad movie.
Ban him? Alright, Tux your dumbness.
No, the movie. Tux is fine.
So then he's like, all right. So here's the upshot of the actual meeting. They don't know fuck all about us. They don't even know that you guys are called Sin Eaters. They called us wizards. And there's a couple people who fucking laugh. Like, fucking idiots. Don't know what they were called.
Wizard, that's stupid. Now tell me more about those vampire eggs.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
was this their hive, their nest where they lay them? Was just like,
did they have people strung up with vampires bursting out of their chests?
I just love this. There's just two groups of supernaturals that are just like, man, those fucking wizards. It's like those fucking reptiles.
No idea about the other.
Right. So he's like, yeah. So basically, the people at this fucking meeting, there was only like plus the group, there were only 5 others. And they're like, so it's 10. I mean, so there aren't very many vampires.
Wait, did we talk about fire there? Oh my god, I hope we didn't.
Oh, you did.
Oh no!
Shit. So anyway, there's only 5 extra people. And so the man is like, oh, so there's only like 10 of them total? That's fine. He's like, no, the 5 people who showed up are called barons, and they own entire sections of cities and have entire gangs of vampires serving under them. And like the room goes quiet. Amanda's the first person to speak, and she says, how many vampires are we talking? I have no fucking idea, because They also said that most of the barons didn't even show up to this meeting. And there's like the audible drip of water dripping off a stalactite.
Ghost flute goes crazy in the background.
Jerome is one of the first people to speak up, and he says, they fucking outnumber us.
What gave that away? Was it your math?
It's like, shut up, asshole. We didn't know that. We always thought we had numbers.
Well, that's fantastic.
So let me just sum this up then. We ran into fresh spawn vampires. They did a complete fucking number on us. They walked in here like it wasn't shit, like the fucking door was open or something.
The door actually was left open, which is why Riley's on cleaning duty.
Fucking Riley.
Great.
But on top of that, they have vastly superior numbers.
Super strength, magic powers, just like us. But they don't know anything about us, right? You said they called us wizards. He's like, yeah, and get this. I learned some choice information. They actually talked about their fucking weaknesses in the meeting. And like all eyes perk up. And he's like, they said they only know that we can die from sunlight. They don't even know that we can cut off our heads or light us on fire. And she sort of like starts not, and she's like, fuck, damn, if only we had somebody with pyre flame.
Curse our sudden but inevitable failures.
God damn it. I rolled a 3.
No, but this is great news. We can kill them before sunup. If we actually capture one of them, we don't have to hold them around as an asset. And he's like, okay, there's more. And this is where it starts to take a turn. The one that you captured and had staked was super pissed. A couple of the other guys were talking about how Brujas can't control their emotions and sort of like laughing at her in the corner. And then she like destroyed the table and flipped everything and like almost killed one of them. So she's a Bruja and can't control her emotions. She wanted revenge.
Sounds like my ex-wife.
So are they coming for us? Amanda says. Like
they just like, ignore him.
The ghost says no. Apparently one of them is like the headist baron, and he said we don't know enough about them, and if we do a fight when we're not prepared, they might actually learn our weaknesses, and there might be more of them, and they might have like magic we don't know. So basically he was exercising caution. And Amanda sort of nods. He's like, okay, so we don't have to worry about a reprisal. And he's like, well, so the one that's a Bruja, and her name's also Amethyst. And somebody else is like, I know a stripper named Amethyst. She left the meeting early, and the one that, you tagged, tried to follow her and was like, are you gonna like go fight them? And like she said no, but it was really clear that she was meaning yes. And I don't know, the person I was attached to like really didn't want her to go fight, but still like left it at that and walked away. So I'm super sure that this Amethyst, who is also a baron, is gonna start some shit. Because apparently they can't control their emotions, and she really, really wants revenge. So Amanda sighs and says, thank you. We'll pay you in full once this is resolved. And he's like, yeah, all right, you better. So I'm just going to go upstairs. And so he sort of like walks out of the seance room, like through the wall. All right, everybody. That means we are facing possible reprisal. It doesn't look like it's the whole weight of the vampiric community, whatever that looks like. But this still puts us in a really tough bind. If she attacks tonight and we succeed, that probably will inspire the leaders who were recalcitrant to attack us. If she attacks us and we fail to repel the attack, well, the consequences of that are obvious. We're between a rock and a hard place. I'm open to suggestions.
Well, why don't I set up a... Why don't we set up a couple of alerts around far outside of the graveyard? That way we know for a fact if they've come through.
I think Will's right. I think we definitely need scouts.
We'll definitely put up some sort of perimeter. And I'm confident in our group's ability to defend our territory. We have many abilities that they haven't seen. This place is designed for defense. They caught us with our pants around our ankles, and that obviously won't happen again. I'm much more concerned with the ramifications of our actions. We have a rogue in their community coming after us, and that could lead to an open war that it doesn't sound like we could win.
Well, we now have 2 more weapons at our disposal, and that is we know of 2 other ways to end their lives.
That
so how can we use those?
That is exciting news. I have contacts. I know of other sin eaters in other cities, some of whom have pyre flame. We can maybe pull some strings and bring them in, and that sounds like it would be very powerful against them.
We absolutely should do that, and perhaps we need to get some machetes.
We're
all equipped with the same knives, and you all are. You all have been given, as part of your pact with this conspiracy, combat knives, which are like the big U.S. military ones. It's like it'll get you through a head. Maybe not easily, maybe not in one fell swoop, but we're going to have to incapacitate these monsters to decapitate them anyway. So it's definitely serviceable. I'm going to be honest. I'm a tactician. I'm not a politician. I know how to fight this confrontation. I don't know what to do on the grander scale. If this turns into open war, it sounds like there are many more vampires than we know about. It's possible they could all rally at once. And I don't think against numbers like that, any amount of fire or preparation will protect us.
Do we know wreckage about how long they live?
Do you mean vampires? You don't know anything about that, no.
Okay.
The ghost did say that one of them looked like an ancient Scotsman, like a medieval Scotsman. So he could be dressing up like that way for fun, or he could be that old.
Well, we do know about that woman's uncle.
Go on.
Why don't we just pay him a visit? Maybe find out who this woman is?
To what end?
Well, it could just mean that we can potentially take one of them out, or maybe even, I don't know, put a curse on her or something like that.
Well, sure. But that's one of 30, 40, 50, 100, 1,000.
Well, we found out 2 fucking weaknesses in one night. Surely they gotta have more.
You're right. we will do some legwork, but all of those things are ways to win a war. And if it turns out that there are hundreds of them,
all right. Why don't we see if we can get some of that? Do they have that exploding ammo? Is that a real thing? Can we use that?
Incendiary rounds. They have proved to be immune to bullets.
What, not immune to fire.
Fire bullets.
That's definitely a way to go from here. We could even bust into a military compound and get some flamethrowers. But again, Bill, I know how to fight a war. I'm asking you all how we can avoid this war. Because the cost of failure is too high. They will surely utterly destroy this place if they win.
Well, what if we work out who's the first vampire in the city and kill him and see if it kills all the other vampires?
There's like murmurs of agreement. Yeah, I bet that is how that works.
I mean, if they're anything like the movies, that's generally how it works, right? You kill, like, the father vampire, and then all his younger ones just perish or whatever the fuck, so...
Yeah.
The movies also don't have them controlling shadows.
It sounds like we might be able to do it with a Molotov cocktail.
Yes, that's also a good plan. Finn, you've been quiet.
All I'm hearing is just figure out how to assassinate one or two of them. Look, if they stay out of the cemetery, we're good. Why don't we try reaching out to them?
Hey, wizards here. You don't come anywhere near us, so we'll do wizard powers on you.
It sounds like their leader was open to the idea of that sort of arrangement. But
I mean, they eat people. There's only dead people here, so...
What about this rogue element? It sounds like if we were left completely to our own devices, they would stay away. But she's about to instigate something.
So we defend ourselves from that, but other than that...
Well, here's the thing.
Why
if we
don't
defend
we try to contact their leader and plan for defense?
Well, we might want to do that now, because if they get pissy that we killed one of them because she came after us again.
Well, their leader sounds reasonable to some degree.
We heard it through a fucking dead cop, okay?
He's a cop.
No, I agree with Bill to some extent. We didn't get a perfect retelling, but it did sound like the gist was they viewed us as too high of a risk to go after. So that is on our side. We have leverage in theoretical negotiations.
It also would be interesting to work out whether or not our blood actually poisons them too.
I mean, we want to learn quite a lot of things, and that'll definitely change the situation. All right. I want everybody to get ready for a fight, because there might be one tonight. And people like to start getting up and like checking their knives and their guns, and like then another person's like, "Don't bother with the gun, idiot. She just said that the guns don't work." He's like, "Hey, shut up. I like my gun."
Does any of us have records? You're gonna have to remind me. What do we call the key items that Sin-Eaters have that they can work with, like plasm and stuff? Like, what's that fucking called? I'm trying to remember the name of it. We had like a gun in the last group that was powered by plasma.
Right. Hold on a second. Was
it?
But
was it Memento? No, it wasn't Memento. Was it a Memento?
Yeah, it was Memento Mori.
Yeah.
Memento Mori.
Does any of us have like usable mementos like that?
I mean, scattered about. Nothing super, super amazing or anything. Somebody has a fucking, magic flask or whatever that always has alcohol in it. It's like, it's not a big deal. Okay.
None of us have like a flamethrower memento, just casually.
Yeah. So as she's like, everybody like get ready for a fight. There might be a fight tonight, and people start getting up and gearing themselves out. She's like, but here's the thing: if there's a fight tonight, I think the only way that there can be peace is if we don't kill them. And there's sort of like a bunch of people looking around, like, what? It's like, if there's a fight, do not fight for lethal. Don't light them on fire. Don't cut off their heads. Try and stake them. And as we learned from the fight with the crazy one, if you put enough damage on them, they will eventually pass out, just like being staked. I know the risk to us is greater, but I think the risk to the potential of peace is, and just as she says is, there's a massive explosion and part of the ceiling caves in.
Ronald McDonald's fucking.
That's where we're gonna go to break.
Oh my god.
Okay, shit. Amethyst, do your bidding.
There's a massive explosion. Amanda immediately starts, shouting for everyone to get, upstairs, top level. The secret facility is mostly intact. Some bits of ceiling have fallen in. But as your group sort of files out of the two exits, one is the main exit. People get upstairs to where that main exit is, and it's all just fire. So they have to turn around, and you all have to book it out of the secret grave exit. You'll recall from the time you were here.
Yeah.
And as you start filing out of the secret grave exit, you see that the mausoleum is just a pillar of fire. And for those of you with sharper eyes, in the middle of that pillar of fire are the remnants of an exploded fuel truck, as if it landed on the roof.
Damn.
And in fact, Amanda immediately shouts, "Barrier!" Pointing up. And you see in the sky a fuel truck arcing into the graveyard, and it's got a big sash around it that's on fire. As Amanda calls barrier, like 5 of your number do a ninjutsu type thing really quickly and put their hands on the ground, and to your eyes, a shield of plasm goes up over the entire graveyard, and the fuel tanker hits the shield and explodes, and the whole shield is awash in flame. And for a moment, it's like almost pretty, because all of the fuel in the tanker is burning and exploding over this bubble that you're inside. So it's kind of like being inside of a fire. And
it's also worth pointing out plasm's like a very light gray green.
Right.
So it's kind of like that's how would I describe it? Kind of like almost like plasm, like the like Ghostbusters stuff style. It's a little like that, except very see-through and.
The Ghostbuster stuff was much more green. You know, this is
mute green
because it was a comedy, right? This is more like the gritty version of that.
Yeah.
as the flames lap over the shield flickers and disappears, and fire starts raining into the graveyard. And like that's going to be very super painful, except quite suddenly the dirt like makes a little concave over you guys as one of your friends uses his power to manipulate the earth around you. So the fire lands on that dirt and not on you guys. So now patches of the graveyard are on fire. There's been a big explosion. You guys are starting to fan out and look for the culprits. Amanda says, Finn, Bill, Kel. The north pylon of the barrier was destroyed in that last attack. I need you guys to go over there and repair it so we can get the barrier back up. Maybe we can avoid this fight entirely. And just as she says that, Jerome, the stone guy from the previous fight, just suddenly goes sailing into a gravestone and like cracks it with his own back. And standing where Jerome used to be standing is a person. They're wearing a full face welder's mask. And they have like a boiler plate over their chest.
Okay.
And Jerome
Making constant courage checks. Yeah.
they have like a steel I-beam in their hand that they just fucking hit Jerome with to send him sailing into this gravestone. And all at once, like, you realize there are like 7 or 8 of these, all with these welders masks and boiler plates, and they're in the graveyard and they're taking out Sin Eaters. Now, originally, this was going to be a full combat scenario, but we're a little short for time, so we're going to forego dice and keep this encounter largely narrative. There might be a couple dice rolls.
Okay.
So we're also going to hand wave initiative here.
All right.
These strangely armored vampires are taking out Sin Eaters. You have orders from Amanda to get to the north pylon, which is just on the other side of the mausoleum that was taken out, and fix it. Each of you has the magic ability to repair that pylon, but you physically have to make it there.
Yeah, we just sort of infuse plasma into it or whatever, and it goes back to life.
Okay.
So there's no initiative order. Who takes the actual initiative here, and does a thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I guess. I just sort of try and sprint around. Like I try and like jump into like a, I don't know, run between like the gravestones to see if I can, like, I don't know, not so much stealthily, but like just avoid the fighting and get to the pillar.
Okay. Bill, anybody who's trying to make a break for it is getting taken out by this vampire who's got this steel beam.
Okay. Or if
okay. Hold on. Mm-hmm. But you're trying to like skirt and get out of the way. Like you're trying to, you said not so much stealthily, but like you're what you're saying is you're trying to go unnoticed, right?
Sure. I mean, I'm not fully cognizant. I'm not fully aware.
Cognizant.
Thank you.
You're a vigilante. You actually are kind of stealthy. So I would tell you that you had a high stealth roll, and we would be rolling stealth if we were rolling dice.
Okay.
But I'm actually just going to say that you make it past this person with the steel beam, and you sort of intuit why. You can tell as you do it why they don't notice you. These full-face welder's masks, it's the middle of the night. Like, they can barely see you. They're striking out at, like, movement. And, like, going full force. And a couple of people who are scattering and being careless are getting, like, home run. Like TK Fire home run, like Super Smash Brothers, like into the sky, Team Rocket blasting off again. But a couple people are making it past. All they have to do is be a little bit stealthy about it.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm coming in okay. I keep getting messages in Zoom that I have low bandwidth and I'm not really sure what's up. So I would try to throw up using Phantasmal Rage as best showing I can do of this. What it would appear to be a fire elemental, kind of like Calcifer, like a fire demon, but he's quite a bit larger, and he would be lobbing little fireballs toward anybody that dipped at me, and I would try to follow Will out.
Right.
The
you can create an illusion. So Phantasmal Rage is create an illusion fighter who helps you fight somebody.
Yeah.
In this case, you're going specifically for like a fire beast type thing.
Yeah.
To try and because you've just learned
just told us,
that they are afraid of fire. Now it's also worth pointing out that large patches of this graveyard are on fire.
Yeah.
But you summon a. We'll assume that you just succeed at this. Again, this you would have to roll to succeed just to do it, and then also we would roll to see if whether or not the opponent was enscared by this.
Yeah.
Scared.
I
But
got scarified.
This phantasmal Calcifer, as you say, this fire elemental, like it billows into life, like Fantasia or whatever, like it, and this person does leap back and like drop their steel beam briefly.
Nice.
And you can tell that there's a moment where they're frozen in fear.
Mm-hmm.
But they snap out of it, reach to the sort of what is it? What am I looking for here? The behind their back, behind their lower back, and they take out some kind of canister.
Oh no.
Anyway, they huck it at Calcifer. And it's a flashbang.
Oh.
And it goes off and gets like, because you're all still very cluttered together, it gets like half a dozen of you guys.
Oh, Jesus.
And also disapparates your illusion because it's something that conflicts with the illusion. Illusions in World of Darkness all sort of work on the same rules. If anything would break the illusion, the illusion breaks.
Sure.
So this person maybe didn't even know it was an illusion, but still thinks that it took care of your fire demon. Finn, what do you do?
So I'm not entirely sure what it looks like. I'm imagining I'm going to activate my Grave Dirt Shroud.
Sure.
So I'm imagining what it looks like is he just like points his hands at the ground and then like pulls up and a bunch of dirt and rocks just start swirling around him as armor.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I believe it gives me armor, and I'm immune to suffocation, if that means anything. I'm not sure how strong it is, but
Amra is really good.
I think I'm just gonna like try to book it through them because I have dirt armor.
You're gonna Iron Man run through these fucking vampires with these dirt
Pretty
armor?
much with my dirt armor.
So, you try and Iron Man this person, and they clothesline you. And in the brief moment when their sort of inner elbow,
An airbow.
There is a name for that.
there is a name for it. I don't know it.
An
When-
airbow.
I
Elbow
don't
pit?
believe you. Elbow pit. When they're in the brief moment when their inner elbow connects with your like windpipe, two thoughts go through your head. The first thought is, that's a surprisingly dainty arm. And the second thought is, if I don't do something, I'm going to die. And for the purpose,
that's me in the middle of that vampire fight getting clotheslined right now.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
so for the purpose of this one-shot side character, I'm actually going to give you Fifth Dot Grave Dirt Shroud, which lets.
What? You got work.
So-
Shit.
The point is, you actually pump damage into the ground instead of taking it yourself.
Okay.
So she's going to clothesline you, and there's going to be a brief anime moment where there's been like a shockwave, and also we see like the energy ripple through your body and then go into the ground, and then
like
and then a beat where boom, and dirt goes like sailing up everywhere. And you're totally unaffected, and like you keep going because she's not expecting it, and that's going to cost all of your plasm though, because it takes 2 plasm per health level, and you were about to take like 14 passing damage. So you totally survive, and you get past her, but you're spent. You still have Grave Dirt Shroud on, because when you turn it on, you spent plasm to turn it on, and then it stays on, and then you spent plasm for this other power. But running out of plasm, you don't need to keep pumping plasm into the power.
Now, if you had any masks, you could take plasma out of the mask, but I doubt you do.
There are death masks scattered amongst this group, but yes, I totally was channeling Kill la Kill for that pause explosion. So now we're going to cover enemy turn and other Sin Eater's turn, sort of at the same time. All of the enemies have this same getup. They don't all wield like steel eye beams, but a lot of them have brought that sort of thing. There are a couple people who seem to be preferring bladed weapons, and especially the ones who prefer bladed weapons are like winking in and out of existence, and also when they wink back into existence, like one of your friends is cut, stem to stern, and just bleeding everywhere. So there's a lot of powers that you don't actually know what are happening here. Obviously, super strength is one of them.
Thank God there's no shadow powers, am I right?
Bill, as you're running through the graveyard to try and get the fight's like starting to spread out, and it's clear that the strategy of the vampires is like they're all going to come out of this one exit. Like, let's contain them and don't let them spread out. So like there's one group that's cleaning up and another group that's trying to like stalk people trying to leave. And you're probably going to have to contend with one of those, but now it's time for the Sin Eater cavalry. The 5 Sin Eaters who helped put up the barrier have stopped. They're being protected by Amanda and another group of Sin Eaters, sort of warding the vampires at bay. and they've drawn a circle in the ground with some glyphs. And they start channeling plasm into it.
The anime music starts to swell.
All at once, a bunch of splits in the ground go shooting off in the graveyard, and it's like a crack in the earth that is like streaming plasm out, and the cracks go out into the graveyard, and anytime the crack like seeks out or runs into a tombstone that's an angel, it cracks up the angel. The angel walks off the tombstone and like pulls out like a stone sword.
I bet you're all like, man, what's cooler, Sin Eaters or vampires? And then you're just like, man, I think fucking Sin Eaters are cooler.
Like, there's a definite momentary pause from all of the vampires as this happens. But then a very angry female voice says, "Just fucking take him out!" And a steel I-beam goes sailing through the air and like hits one of these angels, and the angel just turns to dust. And like with that, vampires and giant stone angels are fighting each other in the graveyard. Like, it's clear that while it's super cool to summon an army of like golems, like the super strength of the vampires just like they can punch them to bits. But still, it's more people and more density, and it's keeping the fight from just going one way or the other. So back to the friendly the main cast. Bill and Finn, you've both made it past sort of the inner ring of vampires heading towards your goal. Kel, you've fallen a little bit behind, but with the chaos of the fight, like there's openings.
How far away is the lady that screamed out and threw the?
She's actually you couldn't tell who it was because
motherfucking please.
They're
she
all
threw the beam, right?
No, she didn't. Somebody threw the beam. She's clearly the leader, but they all look and sound the same because they're muffled in their PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds gear. So,
well, there goes my idea of putting a level 5 stillness curse on
Amethyst. Shockingly, she'd probably just resist it. I don't know why. You know, maybe it has something to do with that we're not rolling dice and.
Oh, Shadow Ben, my boo.
What's
I mean,
that?
you could
People forgotten who you are. Nice.
Nice.
And then
right.
the players never had to deal with her ever again.
Bill is booking it. Finn is booking it. What do you guys do? Anything in particular, or are you just going beelining for this pylon that you need?
Yeah,
to prepare?
I'm going straight for the pylon.
If there's any people in the way of us, I'm going to call out a pack of ghost wolves.
Now, I know you can call animals, but can you call ghost wolves?
Yep. The Sin Eater conjures a stalking ghost in the... sorry, I'm reading Primeval, not... Wait, am I
right, it's Primeval.
I have Primeval, okay.
Right, you have Primeval Curse. Ghost, right, it has to be targeted to a person, right? And so you a hex in the form of 2 extra... The same is a ghostly animal that affects the target's peace of mind. A dead pet, an animal he accidentally or deliberately killed, something that haunts them.
Yeah.
The ghost animal silently stalks the target for the curse's duration, imposing a penalty to resolve and composure. The shade is an actual ghost and can be dealt with by other Sin Eaters, though any rolls to do so suffer a -2 penalty. So basically, you make them get haunted by an animal ghost.
Yeah.
And it bugs them.
Yeah, it bugs them, but like the big thing is that their composure
Right.
goes down. In this instance, I know that resolve and composure, while surrounded by fire, could potentially be really, really bad for them. So I'm going to do that. And since, the Earth is cracked with all this plasma coming out of it, and I assume that this is a graveyard filled with like animal corpses and stuff like that as well, most likely.
No, it's a person graveyard.
Yeah, some people are buried with their pets. Come on now. It's World of Darkness. Don't give me that look.
Right, it's World of Darkness, and that seems like a nicer thing as opposed to like...
No, that's
just,
like, I'm dead, I'm taking my dogs with me.
Just throwing Rover in the trash is probably what they do in the World of Darkness. Anyway.
But it's a ghost. It's a specter that comes out of a graveyard that looks like a pet. It doesn't have to be a pet.
Right, So yeah, one of the like double blade wielding vampires does in fact, he's sort of on perimeter patrol, like don't let anybody get too far out, and bill your way out in front. Yeah. So he's going to show up, and you're going to curse him, as you said. He's going to get cursed.
I imagine, have any of you guys seen Ghost before? It looks a lot like that when the underworld specters come out. Except it looks like...
when they're doing the clay thing?
A little later than that.
Importantly, this dot of the curse is an animal that he cares about because the nature of the curse is to make him feel bad. Yeah. So it's like the ghostly specter of like Mr. Bubbles or something. Before the curse takes hold of him, Bill, he disappears and reappears behind you. And
personal kid.
And nothing personal, kid. You're missing your right arm. Now, here's the thing about Sin Eaters. They don't regrow limbs. If you die in this fight and your friends are nice enough to like sew your arm back on, it'll all heal and you'll have your arm back. Yeah. But this dude just took your arm. After he takes your arm and it falls limply to the ground, and also blood is spraying everywhere, like he pauses and like drops his blades and fucking runs away. And like,
I like the idea that I'm like shaking, it's like, because my my arms got cut off, and I pick it up and I'm just like, get him, Fido.
Yeah, fucking Finn. Bill just lost a goddamn arm. He's like 10 paces in front of you. And he's slowed down by blood loss and shock a little bit, so you can catch up to him on your course to the pylon. But this guy who was watching this part of the perimeter has bolted. He's fled.
There we go.
Can I actually, you know what I do before I put my arm between my leg, and I pull out a flask with my other hand and I unscrew it with my teeth. And I just pour alcohol all over my bloody stump. And
it's incredibly painful. What? It doesn't help at all.
But then I want to start I want to start doing the God, what was it called? It was called the
you can turn alcohol into glue?
Mending the mortal coil.
Right, that's a ceremony. If you do this, you will never get your arm back because you'll be healing that wound.
But I want to put the
It can't do that. Mending the mortal coil can't do that. Mending the mortal coil will heal the wound, but it won't like reattach an arm.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? It doesn't matter. I still do it, Wreckage, because at this point in time, I would rather be awake and in this fight than not.
All right. Well, so like you do that, and the realization that you'll never have your right arm again sort of dawns on you, and you leave it behind. Finn, you watch him use the healing spell that Sin Eaters know on his stump, which cauterizes the wound and he stops bleeding. But now, even if he dies and you try and reattach that arm, he won't get it back.
Damn, Bill.
Kel.
So I'm lagging slightly behind them. Are there any enemies right near me?
There's this one enemy who dropped that steel eye beam and is sort of harassing the inner circle. Now, you are aware of two things. Amanda told you to go fix the pylon.
Yeah.
But also, if these Sin Eaters in the center fall, there'll be no one to turn the barrier on. Like, they're the ones who activate it. So if she's like picking up a tombstone right now and about to hurl it into this group of people, it might be better for you to stay here on defense.
Okay, so changing tack, staying on defense. Whoever looks to me at a really cursory glance, whoever looks to be the most capable at the moment or the most threatening at the moment, I'm going to use passion rage on them and try and tune into their most fearful memory, whether it be like they almost saw the sun or they were once kind of caught on fire, and use that against them.
So that'll be this one fighting the inner circle, because that's the one who's close.
Gotcha.
And let's just put it this way. You would have to botch this roll to fail it if we were rolling dice.
Right.
Because what you don't know is that your target is a Bruja. Which means that you have like +2 to affecting people's emotions, and Brujas have -2 to resisting being affected, like resisting their own emotions. Yeah. So this...
That's when Tuesday knew that she fucked up, putting a Bruja in frenzy.
No, because she went for fear. So just like the guy that you did earlier, she's going into the red fear, not the red hunger. So she disappears too. Like, she bolts. She runs away, tail tucked between her legs, scared.
Nice.
As that occurs, a angel statue is like disemboweling a vampire, and that vampire is still standing, even with like everything from their spine to their like outer left side having been torn completely out.
Good.
Like, you can see their spine, and their response to that happening is to punch that angel statue, and it disintegrates. There are like some other vampire hits some Sin Eater, and the point is that they go through like an entire row of tombstones, like easily like 50 feet, like smash, 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 like, and then there's just a broken body at the end. You've like in the last fight inside the building when the whoever, some jackass probably, went frenzy and knocked out like 6 of your guys. You've easily lost like 9 at this point. Like, the fight is turning. But if you get to this pylon and fix it, the way this barrier works, it will expel them when it turns on. So they won't, like, the fact that they're already inside won't be an issue. You guys get to the pylon, Finn and Bill.
Yeah, I like put my hand on it. It's like,
Bill is in
Phil, give me a hand.
Bill is in no physical condition to do this, and on the other hand, Finn is out of plasm. So
let our powers combine.
Yeah, you guys are going to have to kind of... Finn, you're going to have to drink plasm from Bill to do the ceremony.
Okay. How does one do that?
I just sort of share it with you. It's
It's not like the dicks don't touch or anything. Don't worry about that.
unless you want to. It's considerably easier if the dicks do touch, though. But
It's probably like you take his good arm, like, and you guys do the sort of like wrist to wrist clasp, and
Sure.
you just like he starts venting plasm and you start taking it in.
yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like the same way that a sin eater can just take plasm from haunted places. Like he doesn't have to go up to the wall and be like, "Yeah." He just sort of like accepts it into his body.
And in this case, like you can also just let it out. So what Bill is doing is letting it out, and you're absorbing it again.
Sure.
So now you have the plasm, and you can do the ceremony. I presume you do the ceremony, and you're not like wreckage. I'm just gonna not. I actually
I
kick it
turn
more.
on my other shroud.
Okay.
Removing your first shroud.
I walk up to the pylon and like
God, now I want to play fucking Sin Eaters. God fucking damn it.
I vogue and I strike a pose and then I
Right.
It's more like you probably take some mud and draw a symbol, then push plasm into it. Anime style.
The pylon, which had been struck by a piece of metal shrapnel from an exploding fuel tanker, like rewrites time. Is basically like it like it repairs itself exactly in reverse of however it was destroyed. These pylons, by the way, are just like innocuous tombstones that happen to have like big spheres at the top.
Okay.
And they happen to be spread out like perfectly around the outer edge of the graveyard. Like, nobody would notice if you were looking close or whatever. Once it's back, like Kel, you see that they've done their job. The like inner cadre is too busy fighting to know that it's done.
The barrier is effectively back up, but there are several vampires inside it.
No, what I'm saying is that you see that they've repaired it, and like your friends who are behind you don't know that it's done.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Yeah, they basically have
So
to
yeah,
recast
whoever's
it.
in shouting range, I would say, activate the barrier. What's up? What's up?
Amanda's like, do it now! And the people who were summoning the golems, like, just with a hand, they erase their the circle that's doing the golems, and the golems just fall to the ground.
There's a vampire like being like held up by a thing. He's just like, and then he disappears, and he just like he just falls on the ground. It's like
They draw the new the symbol they used for the barrier the first time. They cast it. It casts outwards from their circle like a expanding dome, and as it hits vampires, they just get carried along by the dome until it re-expands to the full size on the exterior pylons. One of the vampires is in coma. Two of them look extremely damaged. Two of them completely ran away. You also, there's like, they're not really sure. You get this moment of, like, they sort of look around, and Bill and Finn, who are closer to the outer edge, you actually hear like, well, what the fuck do we do now? And like one of them makes a like maybe half-hearted attempt to like punch the barrier like really hard, and there's super strength, and there's a ripple that comes out of the punch that like goes over the dome, but it doesn't do anything. And then he's like, well, fuck, we're not getting through this shit. And someone else is like, Amethyst fucking booked anyway, let's just scoop everybody up and go home.
Before they turn away, can I say something to them?
You'd have to shout.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Like, you wouldn't be talking to them because they're pretty far away. You're just overhearing this. But if you shout at them, they'll hear it.
Yeah, I shout, "Hey, Fangs!"
One guy turns like, yeah?
He's like, "We want to talk peace. We're serious about this."
They sort of, like, they have stopped talking, like, walking. And they sort of, like, look at each other and it's like, they're like, fuck. And finally one of them's like, we're not really the peace talking.
Spread the message. That's all we need you to do.
They sort of look at each other again. Like, these guys are totally lemmings. Like, they're lemmings 100%. And they, like, talk about themselves. Then finally you get back okay. And then they
I go to give a thumbs up with my arm that's missing, and then I just and I do the other one.
And then they fuck off. The barrier's up. We're gonna go through like a bit of a sort of like, you know, sort of jazzy, sad music plays as you montage collecting up your friends. Nobody appears to be permanently dead, but the mausoleum's destroyed, and that's a big deal. There's more of a sort of post facto montage where we see like several of the Sin Eaters have to work clandestinely to sort of spin this story in the media. Like we see sort of like we get a panning shot of like a bunch of news reporters like photographing the mayor up on a podium, and like in the group with a like plasma tendril swirling around the mayor's head is one of the Sin Eaters, making him say, "Yeah, it was, you know, a freak car accident with 2 fuel tankers." It's like spinning this story that could only
The
possibly
McDonald's in Eaglewood had a gas explosion which launched several actual gas trucks.
The point is,
into the
it's a
air.
story that's like for the audience is super flimsy and could only possibly fly in the world of darkness.
Highlighting
like
the dangers of
like, oh yeah, that's totally what happened. And it's like unbeknownst to the Sin Eater, also like the mayor's aide's a ghoul and is like, yeah, say that. And
Yeah, I like the idea that there's a vampire there doing the exact same line as the Sin Eater, so they don't realize that they're both like
they're both mind controlling the mayor to say the same thing. So it just like
See, we can get along. It's okay.
And then there's like a montage of stone angels putting themselves back on their pedestals, but also like cleaning up the graveyard.
Man, when I died, I didn't think I'd be doing this the rest of my undead.
I'm like, bring back some ghosts. It's like, "I'm here. What do you need?" Grab a broom.
I'm gonna need you to.
I guess we got the graveyard shift.
a little batch of concrete there.
You know what? That's the perfect name for this episode. Graveyard Shift.
Graveyard shift,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
my God,
man,
that is-
slam dunk.
That's good.
So yeah, without doing like actual combat, this timed out exactly perfectly. We'll pick up again next week, hopefully, if Sputnik has power and a house and all of that.
Yeah.
We'll pick up. We'll
And a life, a
For the
pulse.
audience, he's okay. They just lost power.
It's for him. It's just a tropical storm. It's not a whole hurricane. So you know.
I also
so,
love
like,
the idea.
Fuck
that-
him.
I love the idea that all these Sin Eaters come back and it's like, "So, did we lose anyone permanently?" Nah. It's like, "Oh, Bill lost an arm though."
Yeah, actually, the biggest casualty is that Bill lost a fucking arm.
Yeah.
Like everybody else will probably wake up eventually.
Yep.
So we'll come back next week with the crew and the fallout from Amethyst going rogue, and maybe peace talks. We'll see how that looks. There'll be a lot of fallout on the vampire side. But just to toot my own horn, how cool is it that Amethyst threw fuel trucks and also came in with like welders masks and
It was super
how
cool.
effective
So they
is
couldn't get
Walter's-
staked.
How effective is Welder's mask against fire, though? Like, it doesn't seem like that would stop the beast from being scared of fire.
it effectively gave them. So for Amethyst's crew is mostly Brujas, and they have trouble with composure rolls. The Welder's Mask basically just brought them back down to like even keel.
Nice.
Like the other thing that you can do is like she whipped them into a big like battle friend. Like we don't see all the prep. Like they went out and got armor and weapons and they whipped themselves into this big like battle frenzy and all of that really helps with Rorschach checks.
Man, Brian's gonna be pissed he missed playing a scene.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be pissed. Oh man. Like seriously, this has just made me just like looking at these powers again. I fucking love the Sin Eater powers so much. Like seriously. Like,
that was
cool.
Rex's plan all along.
Well, no, this is a good time to stop and say that the plan for Die Party going forward is to do a World of Darkness canon, which will include relaunching Sin Eaters. But as it stands, the current plan is Elliot Knight into some sort of hunter's game into Sin Eaters.
Nice.
So it's down the way, but we will continue, especially when there are absences, to do side stories that feature groups and supernaturals that have nothing to do with our main storyline to highlight some of the things that we're missing out on in the long term. Why don't we go into outros, but take a little time, especially Tux and Tuesday, to like give the audience a little spiel about how you like, you know, your first experience with as loose as it was, and lacking rules as it was. Maybe talk about how you felt about this.
yeah, so imagine when you did your this is what I do with my power. It's the same thing in Sin Eaters where you take your attribute and you take a skill to do the role. Like it's the identical system. So
Yeah.
And also you would have
does. It shows
chosen
you-
your powers at character creation instead of us rolling on a table.
Yeah, it shows you what
That
you
is
have to
pretty
roll.
cool.
So, yeah, my take on it was, holy shit, this is like Ghost Wolves? Are you kidding me?
yeah.
That's super cool. So I actually had no idea that they pulled power from Plasm and that they could cocoon essentially and regenerate. In fact, I'm not sure that I knew they were pseudo undead. Or at least had, you know, limited number of
They
lives.
have about
undead.
9 lives, I think it was, or something like that, right, Wreckage?
So basically what happens is something that we haven't really gotten into yet because you're still young blood vampires, but World of Darkness always has a humanity like stand-in with all of their supernaturals. It doesn't make much sense in the Sin Eater one because it's like the what they're playing off of is this synchronicity with your Geist or something like that, but
Sure.
like really random shit fucks with that. In the case of vampires, you guys will start making humanity checks. You know, if you wantonly murder or cause destruction or whatever, like your humanity will start to lower. But for Sin Eaters, they make that same check every time they die, and every time they die, the difficulty of that check increases.
Yeah, we played with a guy called Frank, and he died probably the most out of everyone in the group. 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times he died.
And he managed, the first time he died, which was literally in a burning building. Like, Sin Eaters are just like fucking wet paper bags, though. They die.
They're just humans. They're just
so
humans.
quickly. And he died, and when he came back, he actually got a
derangement.
A derangement where he has to, like, everything like comes down to chance, and he's like a gambler. Like, he has a gambling obsession and stuff like that.
Holy
Like,
shit.
So when you lose humanity, or in the case of Sin Eaters, when you lose, I forget what it's actually called. I don't think it's synchronization, but it's, you know, it's something like that. When you lose that, there is yet another like role where you maybe develop a derangement as a result of dropping in humanity.
it's literally called synergy.
Yeah, synergy. Like a derangement is like anything mental at all. So even because derangement's a very loaded word in like common lexicon, but in World of Darkness, it's just it's like, you know, capital D derangements, and it's, you know, OCD, like germophobia, like, you know, like anything is a derangement. So yeah, he did develop one like immediately.
You died too much, dude.
Oh, it was a great
well,
episode too.
My interest is definitely peaked. So, as unfortunate as it sounds, I'm kind of glad that the power thing happened because this is it's exciting.
Yeah, it was cool. Definitely cool to see that I get exposure to another World of Darkness thing.
So Tuesday, your particular one, Passion and Phantasmal.
Yeah.
So basically, imagine you had basically it's kind of like with vampires, how you get like 3 traits that you can put dots into. So basically, you put dots into rage. So let's say you had rage and you had say, what's another good one? Another good Shroud, I guess. So Shroud is like armor essentially. So with Passion, Shroud, you would have an armor of like say like what is
I think it was fear.
Yeah, like you basically give like you basically emulate like fear-based things to people, and Phantasmal Shroud is like ghost armor, basically. Like
cool.
So basically, you have these keys which are Passion and Phantasmal, and the lock is Rage. And every time you put a different flavored key into the powers that you have, you get different effects. Like one of the characters that I played maxed out Oracle, which is basically just like vision, like Oracle related stuff, and he had Phantasmal
Passion Oracle. It was Passion Oracle, yeah.
And basically he could use Oracle to look into people and find things, but he could also use Phantasmal to basically like project his body into the underworld.
Holy shit!
Like
That's cool as hell.
Yeah, like the stuff you can do in Sin Eaters is really good.
It was actually Passion and Stigmata.
Stigmata. Wait,
wow.
Phantasmal is the...
Phantasmal is illusions.
Oh, right. So Stigmata is the ghost one. Sorry, my bad.
Right, yeah. So, and for those of you playing along at home who might have been interested in one of the more scary powers that we saw last time, the Simon, who could force vampires to bleed.
Stigmata, yeah.
That was the Stigmata Rage, which can force people to bleed and then also control blood to some extent.
Yeah, like there's a whole thing in this game about bringing ghosts back up and just forcing them to do things, and like just crazy shit like that. It's like you can spend the entire game just playing around with ghosts. Like you don't have to deal with anything, and
there's like Scooby-Doo Sin Eaters whose whole purpose is to go around and like resolve ghosts' anchors so that they move on. Then there's exploitive Sin Eaters who are just using ghosts to be like, "Where'd you bury the money, asshole?" And then there are Sin Eaters like the group we played tonight who have made a pact, probably with a supernatural entity, like a Death Lord or something, or a Cerebus, and they've made this pact for extra bonus power in exchange for the ideology of their crew, which in this case is defend the sacred land, the sacred burial ground.
That's cool.
So, I mean, and that's really why there's going to be room here for potentially peace, because the goal of these Sin Eaters isn't to kill vampires, it's to kill them when they trespass. So, maybe that you can come to terms.
What did you think, Tux?
It was cool. Yeah, I liked getting another exposure to like a different World of Darkness thing, because vampires is my first foray into it. So seeing some different powers and different like types of supernatural stuff was pretty cool. I do like the wide variety of weird stuff you can do with it. Definitely. It didn't get a chance to do all the other stuff you can do with them, of course, but like, yeah, cool. Like a big difference from playing a vampire who's all worried about avoiding fire in the sun, and you just want to like hang out with ghosts or whatever.
Oh yeah, like you can do You can do a lot with Sin Eaters that you couldn't do with other supernaturals. They kind of have like effectively plot armor, which makes them super fun to play, but at the same time. So,
I think the big successful thing that I think we all agreed that we really liked, that I'm really proud worked, was the neither supernatural knows what the hell's going on with the other supernatural.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. Fucking vampires laying eggs and wizards. Nice.
And then just the fact that they found that funny about the other one, like, ha, wizards, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
So, wait a minute, you can cut off their heads? That's crazy.
Maybe if we kill the head one,
Whoa.
They'll all die.
They'll all just die.
That was the follow-up. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that ought to do it. Just kill Papa Vampire.
Papa
Right.
Vampire. Where's Dracula at? Let's get him.
Yeah, exactly.
Dracula is a Zamisi.
Of course he is. That makes the most sense.
He's an old clan Zamisi, and old clan Zamisi don't have flesh crafting.
Suck it, Dracula.
Flesh crafting was a art that they developed, and it sort of like corrupted them and changed them. Old Dracula is an old Zamisi, which is much more like a it's much more like Count Dracula with the mind control. Like they had what's it even called? They have the
Domination.
Yeah, they have like Dracula has dominate, not vicissitude.
Dominate's pretty fucking strong though. Anyways, let's do some shout outs. Tuesday, let's start with you.
Dudes, thanks so much for joining us. This was a really cool episode. I got to learn something about another portion of this system that I'm now super intrigued about. So we should talk about, if you guys want to do a campaign, my involvement. But yeah,
all right.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Next week we will be back to the regular vampires, so definitely tune in, because there's going to be a little bit of fallout in all likelihood for what Amethyst has done here. And we're probably in trouble as usual, but we're always in trouble. If you want to find me in other places, you can do that at /TuesdayGray, Twitch and Twitter. And
for once, you guys are not going to be in trouble at all.
I don't know. Yes. I mean, Maria has a fucking another goblin on her shoulder, so like, you know, she has so many policemen around her now.
You know, I'm embracing the not in trouble thing. I'm liking it.
Tux, let's talk to you, mate.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us in our special one-shot. We'll be back next week with some nice vampire stuffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with all that. I hope we can get it all. Both I and Maria hope we can settle everything and everything's going to be okay. But I know that everything's not going to be okay, so I'm going to have to live with that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's that. I'm Tuxedomus. Check out my stuff and check me out here. Thanks for hanging out.
Nice. And last but not least, we have a storyteller, a master of multiple worlds, Dr. Wreckage. What up, sir?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Wreckage. Thanks for joining me for this little thing. There was more meat here because originally I planned the side story in case Sputnik wasn't here, and then Dave also slept in and Sputnik wasn't here.
I showed up at the right time. It was just the wrong game time. Okay.
Right. Right. You show up at the right time if the right time is the wrong time. But that's fine. What I'm saying is we really blew through this. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I like to think that this sort of little side path could have been better, but also, not through any fault of. I like to critically analyze the weird experiments that I do with GMing. So I'm sort of sitting here being like, did it work? Why? Where was its shortcomings? And then, I feel like the shortcomings mostly came out of the time crunch. But all things considered, I think we really knocked it out of the park and made a really great show for 2 hours. And saw an interesting thing that we couldn't have seen otherwise. And I'm very excited to come back next week and see what happens. I really hope that Sputnik has a house and power and stuff, because I really don't have another thing lined up for LA at Night if that doesn't pan out. We can't also play the werewolves who are not involved in the story in any way.
Nice. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the story. If you haven't already done so, consider following the channel. If you're feeling real saucy, why not subscribe, get access to the cockpit, and all the best emotes on Twitch. With that in mind, if you enjoyed the Synod aspect of tonight, make sure you go check out the Die Party Synod's playlist on YouTube. There is 25 episodes of just absolute fucking insanity. 25 episodes with vignettes. Vinaigrette. Vinaigrette. There are some really good ones in there. Like, I think Wish You Were Here is probably one of the best pieces of role-playing we've ever done in the entire history of Die Party. Also, I think, if I remember correctly, Jesus Saves and Take Half Damage was also a pretty good episode. Yeah.
I mean, not only are they the best episodes we ever did, but when you literally Google Sin Eaters Die Party,
shows up.
The first two results are those episodes. So obviously, also a very Wish You Were Here was so good. It really was so good.
And that was the second episode of the show, so it's fucking nuts that we went that deep. But it's a little more lighthearted than what Vampire the Masquerade is. So make sure you
It is a little more. There's more side talk, and that side talk is very adult and foul, as some people have commented.
Yeah, like generally, like whenever we play a game with Steve, that generally turns out that way.
Steve and Frank,
they're very bad influences. Like, they're great dudes, but like it was like putting two like comedians that rely on dick jokes in the same room. It's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Having said that, though, we'll be back next week with more with more Vampire the Masquerade on Mondays at the right time. Sorry, I'm getting so used to saying that.
I guess Dave went over me on this one, and Vampire is canceled, and now we're playing the Sin Eaters.
Yeah. Actually, no. It goes LA at Night, then Sin Eaters on the same day with the same crew. We just do two shows back to back.
Oh, okay. Or what happens is, in this time slot, every time you get beaten by a different supernatural, we just
become
them.
I like it. But actually, tomorrow we have the very first episode of Die Party Abyss, which is pulpy 1936 punching Nazis in the face role-playing game with the Hullerworth Expedition rule set with the World of Darkness dice. That actually works really well, so we're going to roll that up. We have Doc Gast, Sheepdog Gaming, Graham Complete, and Drummer Boy, all in the gonna jump into that bitch. It's gonna be great. So if you wanna see an Indiana Jones romp, that's the show to check out. We might see Dead Man's Crest return this week, maybe.
One of our players is currently not at his house in a shelter in northern Florida.
But yes, don't get your hopes up.
Which is itself like Irma is still heading towards that shelter that he's in.
All you need to do is get in a plane and move around the
right. You just fly around the hurricane. It's so easy.
We're gonna rewrite Snowpiercer. Only instead of a train that outruns a blizzard, it's a plane that outruns a hurricane.
Yeah. Good.
Why has no one tried taking a plane and flying in the opposite direction that the hurricane is turning? Just cancel the hurricane.
Right?
You get enough planes spinning in the other direction, and it goes away.
actual true story in Florida. There were calls from obviously not very educated people to turn fans on but point them east so that because the wind is blowing west. So they're like, if we all turn our fans on blowing east, it'll lessen the damage of the hurricane.
There's also that thing going on right now where people just shoot the hurricane with guns, which is
yeah,
great.
there were people who were like. Now, I like to think even those people were having a laugh. Like, they're like, oh, I'm going to shoot the hurricane with a gun. So. I like to think that. Also, it's Florida. Man. Yeah.
Also, it's Florida.
Yeah. So, and Polyrhythm will definitely be back. Polyrhythm is setting up to be a fucking fantastic show. So make sure you come back for that. But also we have Spooktember going on all week. We're in the midst of Alan Wake right now. Best in-show TV show vote of the year for real.
Oh yeah, Night Springs.
Night Springs. Oh my god. Sometimes.
Do you know there are 52 of those in the game?
What?
Yeah, they're like, if you just play the game, you'll run into like 12, and there are like 50 something. Jeez.
I need to watch them then, because the first one we saw was like, yeah, I've created a multiple world device that keeps the best world here always. And watch, I can shoot myself with this gun and I never die. And then a guy like trips over the cable and he's like, check it out. And blows his brain.
Yeah, they're not good. They're intentionally
excellent. It was fucking
they're intentionally bad versions of Twilight Zone, which is great. Like because they only run for like 2 minutes tops when you find these televisions. So they really have to cram the story in there.
The gameplay is whatever. but like, yeah. So that's going on, and that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Richard. Sin Eaters out. Woo!
Woo!